All right, here we go. Money B, welcome back to Vlad TV. It's been 9 years since our last interview.
Time flies.
Time flies. Look at us, man. We still here?
Yeah.
Still doing it? We healthy? We look good? Come on, man. We can't ask for more than that.
Yep.
Well, a lot has happened since our last interview, with the most important is Shock G passed away.
Yes.
How long did you know Shock G?
I've known Shock G since, I think I met him in early 88.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
And I think that we probably, originally me and DJ Fuse and Mac Moan were a group called Raw Fusion. So we were doing talent shows and performing in churches and anywhere that we could be heard. And I want to say we may have done one show where Shock G and Chop Master J were performing, or at least at the show as Digital Underground before us.
Right. And you joined the group before the first album came out.
Yeah, so if I met him early 88, by the summer of 88, I was in the group.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, they needed a DJ and they wanted DJ Fuse. And there was a meeting and Fuse decided or accepted their offer with the stipulation of, we're a group.
Wow. So he got you in the group.
He sure did.
Wow. That's wild.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah. What was it about Shock G creatively that was different? Because honestly, I feel like he was one of the great creative minds in hip hop. Like, what he did was so different.
Yeah, Shock G was a genius. And from the day that I first met him, just him walking into my mom's apartment, just how he was dressed, he was different, right? And then the first time that I went to his house and he had all of these drawings on the wall, and I'm like, who did that? And he was like, oh, me. So he was just some people are just creatives, right? And he was creative. He did all of the original single and album artwork where you see animation, like the Humpty Dance and everything that we did. This is an EP with, the one that we introduced Tupac on. He did that artwork. So a lot of the artwork that still survives through, the imagery that you see with Digital Underground at our shows and even on our merch, right? Shock G created most of that.
Well, right, and Shock G let Tupac into the group.
Yes.
Do you remember that conversation when Shock G said, okay, this is the newest member of Digital Underground?
No, it wasn't really like that. Tupac was in a group called Strictly Dope, right? Yeah. With him and Ray Love, shout out to Ray Love, and DJ Diz, right? They got signed to TNT Records, which is the same label that we were on. And, Atron was shopping Strictly Dope as a group. And, to get to it, basically the group broke up and he retained Tupac as a solo artist and was shopping him, and it wasn't going as fast as Tupac wanted it to go. Now, mind you, we're all around each other. So even though he's not technically in the group, Tupac and Strictly Dope, they were always around, right? Right before we went on our first national US tour with Big Daddy Kane, Atron approached Shock and asked him, do you mind if Tupac goes out with you guys? Because if not, I might lose him, And, Shock was like, cool, let me holler at Mun. He asked me, and I'm like, he's our guy. Like, why not? And he came out on the road. And once he came out on the road with us, that's where he sort of made his mark, right? Because we were out with Big Daddy Kane and Queen Latifah. And we shows with 2 Live Crew and Special Ed, and we met the Jungle, and everywhere everywhere we went and everyone we met, Tupac made an impression on. And he was very good at networking, which I don't think a lot of people mention, you know, because a lot of people who want to be like Pac and they want to do this and do that. Two things that Pac did very well, or that he did that a lot of people don't talk about, that I believe that had an impact on his career. You know, he was an astute reader and thinker, and he was also great at networking. So he made a lot of alliances and friendships when we were out on the road that definitely came in handy later on.
Well, speaking of that, Busta Rhymes told a story where I guess a sound man had disrespected the group leaders of the new school, and Tupac like choked out the sound man.
Right.
Do you know about this?
I've heard the story, but
Okay.
it's on brand on who Pac was, because he did the same thing with his very first day on tour with us. He tried to rush the sound man because at a sound check, because the sound wasn't right, and Atron had to grab him and be like, "Yo, you know, we depend on this guy to get our sound right. You can't just go beating up the sound man." And so, but he was passionate like that. You know what I mean? And he didn't know. He just felt like if he had your back, he was supposed to react, and he thought that was helping out. So
Okay.
he just did what he do.
Well, with Shock G, when did you find out about the heavy drugs?
When did I find out about the heavy drugs? Well, it's kind of a tricky question because, you know, everybody does what they do. And normally, you know, it would be like asking him, when did you find out mine was doing heavy drinking, right? You know, and I was doing whatever I was doing, and we just we all party with each other, but we don't know exactly if someone's doing anything excessively when they're not with you, right? So that's a tough question to be like, oh, I know exactly when.
Right, but at one point, it seemed like Shock G just wasn't really around. I've been wanting to interview Shock G forever, and I never even got close. Right,
Okay.
Usually I'll get close.
Well, that's the other thing, because you would never know, because Shock was always he wasn't as social as, say, me or Tupac was. And he didn't always make himself available. So just, you know, he was, I'm not gonna say he was a recluse, but he didn't care so much about socializing with people, you know, like that he didn't know. You know, he was really more about the art. So him just being a different person, it's hard to say when he's acting different, because he's just acting like Shock G. You know what I mean? So you never really know how much someone is doing. You might have an inkling to what you think, right? And even, you know, I can remember even you know, Shock was an honest person, right? And he'll say like, hey man, you know, I'm kicking it, but let me just say it like this. From the very beginning, we've all had, you know, myself, Shock G, even Tupac, Chop Master J, and I would say maybe not so much Fuse, but we all had our circle of friends outside of the group, right? So when we were not on tour and we were not making music, a lot of times, you know, Shock had he went where he went. I had my crew of people. Fuse was a part of my circle, right? Even Tupac, we were cool, but he had his own thing that he did, and Chop Master J, and so on and so forth. So outside of the set that we were in, which was doing shows and partying afterwards, you'd see somebody like, of course, drink and cocaine and maybe even ecstasy later, you know, the early 2000s, that we all were around it.
Yeah.
But anything heavier, a lot of people wouldn't share that openly.
Well, on April 22nd, 2021,
Sure.
he passed away
Right.
in his motel room in Tampa, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an accidental overdose of fentanyl, meth, and alcohol.
Right.
Yeah, he was 57 years old. Were you talking to him up to that point? Because was he still doing Digital Underground shows, or?
He had stopped, right? And then, so it's crazy because we were having conversations, the last few conversations, well, the last conversations, not so much, but leading up to, I say in the year before his passing, mm-hmm. there was conversation within our collective about doing a reunion tour. Because Shock had stopped performing, but myself and Young Hump, who he mentored and actually put us together, mm-hmm. we were performing, and to this day, performing as Digital Underground, which we still do. But there was talk of, and let me back up, you know, Shock always wanted to find someone that could play the character of Humpty Hump so that he could do what he loved, and that's play the keyboards and be behind and play the music. So we finally found Young Hump, who looked enough like him and could actually rhyme, and he was dope. And he actually helped Young Hump prepare to be in the Tupac movie, which is the last time we saw each other, right? And so the talk was, hey, now we have the Humpty character. You know, I get to come back and just be Shocked, and we're gonna get everybody, you know, myself and Fuse and Numbskull from Loonies and Mystic and Essential, and we all gonna come back as the big group who we are, and the Mechanics, you know, 4 Racks used to be our DJ, and just bring everybody back, and we're gonna go out, you know, and do this thing one more time. And you know, obviously it never happened, but there was talks of him coming back. So we were having conversations about that. Our last conversation had nothing to do with that, but yeah, he before his passing, it was probably about at least 2 years since he had been performing. Me and Young Hump had been performing the Digital Underground.
Okay, so he completely stopped doing the Digital Underground thing at that point.
Yeah,
he was just doing his own thing.
He was just doing his own thing.
Got it. My condolences. I never met him. I was a fan though. Never met him.
Bro, he's a musical genius.
Yeah, I know.
You know, and it's crazy because how many people get to work with their favorite producer?
Right.
You know what I mean? People always wish, oh man, I wish I could work with Dr. Dre. I wish I could work with, like, bro, Shock G was your favorite producer's favorite producer.
Oh, okay.
You know, and I can tell you from being in the room, like, you know, and these are all people that I admire and Shock admire, but, you know, DJ Quick was a fan of Shock G. Dr. Dre was a fan of Shock G.
Yeah.
And I've seen them in the room in awe of Shock G the same way that I was in awe of Shock G as a producer.
Wow.